The story begins on a clear day, with sunlight blending into every street, as Tieu Ca, a resilient single mother, gazes into the distance where she has long dreamed of a real home for her 3 children. It was the house she had seen a week ago, a small, charming house with a lush garden where she and her children could run around and play, no longer having to worry about the hardships of living in a cramped rental. Hmong, the person who has always been by her side during difficult times, is the one who understands the pressure Tieu Ca has been carrying. Together, they had gone to see the house, sharing conversations about the future, about dreams and hopes that ignited both their hearts. But then, everything suddenly collapsed. Tieu Ca accidentally lost a small sum of money she had saved for so long. At first, she didn't think much of it, believing she would find it again. But when she looked at the remaining amount, she was overwhelmed. This house was too expensive. 10 million, an amount that no matter how hard she tried, she could not reach. The situation became suffocating. Hmong, seeing the confusion in Tieu Ca's eyes, felt her anxiety. He knew she would never let herself fall into a state of need, but he also understood that the situation was too difficult. With sincerity, Hmong didn't hesitate to offer help, suggesting that Tieu Ca take the money he could give her so she could buy the house. He believed this was the only way he could help her, and his feelings for her had transcended friendship. However, immediately, Tieu Ca refused. She looked directly at Hmong, her eyes unwavering and her voice carried a resolute tone that could not be contested. "Thank you, Hmong, but I can't accept. I don't want to be a burden to anyone, especially not to you." Her words came from the depth of her heart, filled with self-respect and determination. She would not allow herself to be weak, even in this circumstance. It was a firm rejection without hesitation. Hmong paused for a few seconds. A feeling of emptiness overwhelmed him. He knew how resilient Tieu Ca was, but in that moment, he felt utterly helpless. He wanted to help her, but he also understood that she would never allow herself to depend on anyone else. With no other option, Tieu Ca decided to do something she had never considered before. She would build a small house for herself and her children with her own hands. She planned to go into the forest to chop wood for the house, and now she had to follow through with it. She gently spoke, her voice soft and pleading for help. "Could you come with me to chop wood and help me build a small house?" He looked at her with admiration and said, "Of course, I can help you anytime. My work schedule isn't too busy right now." Tieu Ca felt a sense of lightness wash over her. Despite her resilience, she couldn't fight the weight of the harshness of life. Hmong, although not wanting to impose, couldn't stay out of it. He was determined to help her in any way he could, and even if he couldn't assist with money, he would offer his physical strength to support her and her children. Tieu Ca looked at him, and the pain in her heart seemed to burst out. She stood silently for a moment, then walked over to him and said, "Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for me and my children." Hmong smiled without saying anything, simply looking at her quietly, assuring himself that he would do everything he could to help her and her children.
Ca stood up, got into the car, and headed to the school to pick her up. The soft golden sunlight of the late afternoon bathed the small streets as Tieu Ca and Hmong drove slowly along the familiar road to the school. She sat in the driver's seat, her eyes quietly gazing out the window, reflecting on the many months that had passed. Every step she had taken, every decision she had made, had always pointed toward one goal: to give her 2 children a better life, a warm and safe home where they could grow up happily without worrying about the hardships of the past or the lack of things.
As the car came to a stop in front of the school gate, little Han ran out, her tiny feet quickly making their way toward her mother. The bright smile on her face was like an endless source of energy, warming Tieu Ca's heart amidst the struggles and hardships of life. The little girl took her mother's hand and looked up at her with innocent eyes, offering her a great sense of comfort. Just seeing her daughter smile, Tieu Ca's heart felt recharged, giving her the strength to continue fighting through the challenges. Hmong stood beside them, smiling as he watched the mother and daughter. He could see the joy in Tieu Ca's eyes, but he also knew that behind that look was a mother who was putting in everything she had to give her children a better life. He said nothing, only gently placed his hand on Tieu Ca's shoulder as a way to show his solidarity. When the 3 of them returned home, the small house was once again filled with the laughter of children. Little Han happily ran out to the yard, playing with the gentle breeze blowing through. Tieu Ca jung gan kwa so, zem kon gai choi, vatrai tim kwa batabong nien tran jai mot kam shuj kong the dien ta. That simple scene made her feel that her life had more value than ever before. She thought about the unrelenting efforts, the many exhausting days, all to give her children a home. Though small, it was full of love. Tieu Ca gently closed her eyes, and in that moment, she imagined a bright future, one where her family no longer had to worry about the struggles of life. She pictured a bigger, more spacious house with lush green gardens and children playing freely in that space. She saw herself sitting at the dining table, watching her children eat hearty meals, no longer struggling to make ends meet each day. She imagined being able to sit with Hmong and their close friends, sharing joyful stories without the weight of financial worries or debts. Tieu Ca knew that the road ahead was long and not everything would be easy. But looking into the innocent eyes of little Han, she felt an invisible strength pushing her forward. She was determined not to let the current hardships hold her back. She would continue to save, to work hard, to sacrifice, so that her children could live in a better world where they would not have to fear the future. A gentle smile appeared on Tieu Ca's lips as she looked at Hmong, her eyes filled with gratitude and appreciation. She didn't need words. His presence was enough. Hmong understood the unspoken emotions in her heart. He just needed to stand by her side, to be a part of this life, and that was all she needed. Tieu Ca always had a firm belief in the future, even though the challenges of life seemed relentless. Hmong had promised her that he would take time to go up the mountain with her to chop wood and build the house. He knew it would be a difficult and demanding task, but for Tieu Ca, it was just part of the journey to create a new life for her and her children. She did not hesitate to face the challenges, and Hmong, although quietly standing on the sidelines, was ready to help her whenever he could. Today, like every other day, Tieu Ca woke up early to prepare Han for school. She smiled. Even though her pregnancy was growing and her belly was getting bigger, she didn't feel tired. On the contrary, she felt even more determined. Life had never been easy for Tieu Ca, but she always believed that each passing day, no matter how difficult or exhausting, was one step closer to her dream of a real home. She took her basket to the market, walking firmly, even though her legs were no longer as quick as before. Looking at her face, no one could see the hardships, sleepless nights, or the aches from pregnancy. They only saw a woman walking with strong belief in tomorrow. Her children were her motivation, the reason she kept striving each day. The market was bustling and lively, but Tieu Ca kept her mind calm and optimistic. Even though her pregnancy was becoming more noticeable, Tieu Ca never allowed herself to back down. She knew that the difficult days would eventually pass, and as long as she kept pushing forward, a solid house would be built, not only for her 3 children, but also for the dream she had cherished for so long. Whether it meant chopping wood, building, or doing hard labor, she never saw it as an overwhelming task. It was simply the challenges she would overcome to move toward a better life. After returning from the market, Tieu Ca tidied up the house and prepared a meal for her children. Although she didn't have much to give them, she always made an effort to ensure each day was full and happy. She thought about the coming days when she and Hmong would go up the mountain together to chop wood and build their house. The house she would build would not only be made of wood and stone, but would also be built with the sweat and love she had for her children. Tieu Ca believed that no matter how difficult it was, a real home, one filled with love and warmth, would eventually be built. She looked out the window where the afternoon sun still cast its light, as a reminder that, even though today was tiring, tomorrow would be a new opportunity. She would never give up. She knew that no matter how many hardships she faced, as long as there was love and perseverance, nothing was impossible to overcome. Today was a hard day, but it was also a day filled with hope and faith in the future. I sincerely thank all of you for taking the time to watch and follow my videos. Your support is a great motivation for me to continue sharing better content in the future. I truly appreciate and thank you for your companionship.
Khi cả ba trở về nhà, không gian trong căn nhà nhỏ lại tràn ngập tiếng cười như những đứa trẻ. Bé Han vui vẻ chạy nhảy ngoài sân, đùa giỡn với những cơn gió nhẹ nhàng thổi ca. Tiểu Ca đứng bên cửa sổ, nhìn con gái chơi đùa, lòng cô chợt dâng trào một cảm xúc khó tả. Cảnh tượng ấy, dù đơn giản, đã khiến cô cảm thấy cuộc sống của mình có giá trị hơn bao giờ hết. Cô nghĩ về những nỗ lực không ngừng, về những tháng ngày vất vả để có thể mang đến cho con một nhà mới, dù không lớn nhưng đầy ắp tình thương. Tiểu Ca khẽ nhắm mắt lại, và trong khoảnh khắc đó, cô tưởng tượng về tương lai tươi đẹp, nơi cô và các con không phải lo lắng về những khó khăn trong cuộc sống. Cô hình dung về một ngôi nhà lớn rộng rãi hơn, những khu vườn xanh mướt với những đứa trẻ chơi đùa tự do trong không gian. Cô thấy mình ngồi bên bàn ăn, nhìn các con ăn từng bữa cơm đầy đủ, không phải chật vật tìm cách xoay sở từng ngày. Cô thấy mình có thể của một người bạn thân thiết ngồi bên nhau, chia sẻ những câu chuyện vui vẻ mà không phải lo lắng về chi phí nợ nần.